A terrified little girl burst into the Mafia boss's private booth, begging him to hide her before her stepfather found her. His men tried to remove her, but when her bag spilled open, a voice recorder rolled to his feet. What he heard on that recording made him realize this wasn't just any scared child. She was carrying proof of the one crime he'd spent 3 years trying to solve. The bass from the club above rattled the whiskey bottles behind Dante Valerio's private booth. He didn't look up from his cards. 3 kings stared back at him, promising another easy win. Marco, his right-hand man, was about to fold when the reinforced door burst open. A child stumbled through. Dante's hand went to his gun. Marco was already on his feet. The girl couldn't have been more than 10. Mud streaked her face. Her jacket was torn at the shoulder. She scanned the room with wild, desperate eyes until they locked onto Dante. "Please," her voice cracked. "Please hide me." "Get her out," Dante said flatly, returning to his cards. But she didn't run. She lunged forward, slipping past Marco's reaching hands, and threw herself at Dante's feet. Her small fingers wrapped around his wrist with surprising strength. "He's coming," she whispered, her breath coming in gasps.
"He killed people.
"And he'll kill me too." Dante looked down at her. Really looked. Her knees were scraped raw. There was a bruise forming on her cheekbone. And her eyes. Those eyes had seen things no child should see. "Marco, get." The girl's backpack slipped from her shoulder, spilling its contents across the floor. A water bottle rolled under the table. A broken phone clattered against the wall. And a small voice recorder skidded to a stop at Dante's feet. He picked it up. The girl's face went pale.
"Don't," she said.
"Please don't press." He pressed play. Static crackled. Then a man's voice, rough and commanding. "I don't care what the report says. Make it disappear. All of it. The shipment, the paperwork, everything that connects back to the Valerio operation." Dante's finger hovered over the stop button. Another voice answered. "What about the brother?"
"Luca Valerio."
"He's already in custody. If we frame him properly, plant the weapons in his car, make sure the judge sees the photos. I want him buried so deep, the Mafia can't dig him out." The whiskey glass in Dante's hand cracked. Amber liquid pooled on the table.
"Luca."
His baby brother. Dead 3 years now, shivved in a prison yard over a weapons charge Dante never believed was real. "Where did you get this?" His voice was ice. The girl was shaking. "My mom. She recorded him. Lots of times. He didn't know." "Who is he?" She hesitated, tears streaming down her dirty face.
"Detective Raymond Hale."
"My stepfather." The name hit Dante like a freight train.
Hale.
The same detective who'd testified at Luca's trial. The same man who'd looked Dante in the eye outside the courthouse and said, "Justice was served." Marco whistled low. "Boss, if this is real." "It's real." Dante rewound the recording, listening again to the casual way they discussed destroying his brother. His jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. The girl, Mira, he'd learned her name was Mira, pulled herself up, still gripping his sleeve. "He knows I have them. The recordings. Mom tried to hide them, but he found out. He hurt her really bad. She told me to run. To find someone who could stop him." "Why me?" "Because you're the only person he's afraid of." Footsteps thundered overhead. Not the usual club traffic, heavy boots, moving with purpose. Marco's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then at Dante. "Police. 6 units. They're surrounding the building." Dante stood, pulling Mira up with him. "How did they find you so fast?" "He put a tracker in my jacket." She was already shrugging it off. "I threw it away 2 blocks from here, but he knows this area. He knows you own this place. Smart kid." Dante made a split-second decision that would change everything. He pocketed the voice recorder and grabbed Myra's hand. "Marco, send them in circles. Full lockdown protocol. Nobody talks." "Boss, if you're thinking what I think you're..." "I'm not asking." He pulled Mira toward the back wall, pressing a hidden panel that revealed a narrow passage. The concrete tunnel smelled of mold and old cigarettes, but it would lead them 3 blocks away to his car. As they ran, Myra's small hand in his large one, Dante's mind raced. For 3 years, he'd hunted for proof. He'd bribed judges, threatened witnesses, torn through every lead trying to find who really set up Luca. And now it had literally crashed through his door in a backpack carried by a terrified child. Behind them, he heard shouting. Hale's voice, amplified by authority, demanding entry. "Stay close," Dante muttered. Mira nodded, her breath ragged but her grip firm. They burst out into an alley. Rain had started falling, washing the city in gray. Dante's black Mercedes was waiting, engine already running. Marco had sent the signal. He threw open the door and pushed Mira inside just as flashlight beams cut through the alley entrance. There! Valerio! Tires screamed as Dante floored it, swerving into traffic. In the rearview mirror, 2 patrol cars gave chase. Mira sat rigid in the passenger seat, small and terrified and clutching her backpack like a lifeline. "There are more," she said quietly. "More recordings. Worse ones." Dante's hands tightened on the wheel. "Where?" "Hidden. Mom said they'd destroy him if anyone heard them." "Then we're going to find them," he glanced at her. "All of them." "Why?" Her voice was small. "You don't even know me." Dante's throat tightened. "Because Detective Hale took someone from me. Someone who can't fight back anymore." He shifted gears, losing the first patrol car around a corner. "But you can. And I'm going to make damn sure you get the chance." For the first time since she'd burst into his life, Myra's expression softened. Not quite hope, she'd been through too much for that, but something close to it. As they disappeared into the rain-soaked city, Dante knew he'd just declared war on the most dangerous kind of enemy, a corrupt cop with everything to lose. But he'd won wars before. This one was personal. Dante's penthouse was a fortress disguised as luxury. Steel-reinforced walls, bulletproof windows, and enough surveillance cameras to monitor a small country. He'd bought it after Luca died, when paranoia became survival. Mira stood in the middle of his living room, dripping rainwater onto marble floors, looking impossibly small against the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. "Sit," Dante pointed to the leather couch. She obeyed, but her eyes darted to every exit. Calculating. Already planning her escape if she needed one.
Smart kid, he thought again.
He poured himself a drink, something strong, and sat across from her. The voice recorder sat between them on the glass coffee table, like a grenade with the pin pulled. "Tell me everything," Dante said. "From the beginning." Myra's hands twisted in her lap. "Mom married him 2 years ago.
Detective Hale.
He seemed nice at first. Took us out for ice cream. Let me stay up late," her voice dropped. But then people started coming to the house. Late at night. Scary people. They'd give him envelopes. Sometimes drugs. Sometimes money. Dante leaned forward. "Your mother saw this. She worked night shifts at the hospital. But one night she came home early." Myra's eyes glistened. She heard him on the phone, talking about making problems disappear. She bought the recorder the next day. Started hiding it in his office. For how long? 6 months. Maybe more. Mira reached into her backpack with trembling hands and pulled out a small notebook. Pages were filled with dates, times, and locations in careful handwriting. Mom cataloged everything. Every recording. Every name he mentioned. Dante took the notebook. His blood ran cold as he scanned the entries. March 14th, conversation with Chief Morrison about evidence tampering. April 2nd, payment received from Cervantes cartel. May 19th, discussion about Luca Valerio frame job. That last entry had a star next to it. "She knew," Dante breathed. "Your mother knew about my brother?" Mira nodded. "She wanted to go to the FBI. But Hale found the notebook 2 weeks ago. He tore the house apart looking for the recordings." Her voice cracked. "He hit her. Really bad. She ended up in her own hospital." "Is she
alive?"
"Barely." Tears rolled down Myra's cheeks. Before the ambulance came, she told me where she'd hidden 3 recordings. Said they were insurance. Said I should run and never stop running. Dante's jaw tightened. He pulled out the voice recorder again. How many recordings are there total? 15. Mom kept 3 at home for safekeeping. The rest, Mira hesitated. She hid them in different places. She didn't tell me where all of them were. Only the most important one inch. Which is? The one where he talks about killing your brother. And 6 other people. Myra's voice was barely a whisper.
He laughed about it.
Said they'd never connect it back to him because he was the one investigating the murders. Dante stood abruptly, his glass hitting the table too hard. 7 people. Luca and 6 others. A serial killer with a badge. He walked to the window, staring at the city lights below. Somewhere out there, Hale was searching. Desperate. Dangerous. Where's the recording? Dante asked without turning around. Public library. Downtown branch. Locker 237-inch. Mira pulled a small key from her pocket. Mom said it was the one place he'd never think to look. He hates libraries. Dante turned back. We'll get it tomorrow. First light. He'll find us before then. Myra's voice was hollow. He has the whole police department looking. He's probably told them you kidnapped me. As if on cue, Dante's phone buzzed. Marco's name flashed on screen. Talk. Marco's voice was tense. Boss, it's all over the news. Hale's claiming you abducted a minor. Your face is on every channel. The police commissioner is calling it a Mafia kidnapping. They've issued a warrant. Dante cursed under his breath. There's more, Marco continued. The council called an emergency meeting. They want you to return the girl. They say you're bringing heat on the entire organization. Tell the council. They're threatening to cut you loose, Dante. Hand you over themselves if you don't comply. Dante looked at Mira. She'd curled into herself on the couch, making herself as small as possible, trying to disappear. Tell them I'll handle it, Dante said coldly. And tell them if anyone touches this girl, they'll answer to me personally. He hung up. Mira was watching him with those 2 old eyes. You should give me back. It's not worth it. It's worth everything. Dante knelt in front of her, meeting her gaze. That man killed my brother. Framed him. Let him die alone in a cage, his voice roughened. I spent 3 years looking for proof. And you walked through my door with it. But you'll lose everything. I've already lost everything that mattered, he stood. Now I'm getting justice. And you're getting your life back. Myra's chin trembled. What if we can't stop him? Dante smiled grimly. Then we make sure everyone hears those recordings before we go down. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. The hunt had begun. Morning came with a nightmare. Dante's phone exploded with alerts before sunrise. He grabbed it from the nightstand, scrolling through message after message, each one worse than the last. The first was a news headline, Mafia boss kidnaps 10-year-old girl. Below it, Myra's school photo, smiling, innocent. Next his mugshot from a decade ago. The second was a text from Marco. They raided the waterfront bar. Seized everything. 4 of our guys arrested. The third made his blood boil. A video of Detective Hale at a press conference, tears streaming down his face. Dante turned up the volume. My daughter is out there, terrified, in the hands of a monster. Hale's voice broke perfectly, calculated emotion for the cameras. Dante Valerio is a known criminal. A killer. And he has my little girl. The reporters ate it up. Questions flew. Have you had contact with him? What are police doing to locate her? Hale wiped his eyes. Every resource we have is dedicated to bringing Mira home safely. We've set up roadblocks on all major highways. We're searching every property connected to the Valerio organization. He looked directly into the camera. Dante, if you're watching, please. She's just a child. Don't hurt her. Bring her back and we can talk. Dante threw his phone across the room. In the guest bedroom, Mira was already awake, sitting on the bed with her knees pulled to her chest. She'd heard everything through the thin walls. He's good at lying, she said quietly. Everyone always believes him. Not everyone. Dante picked up his phone. The screen was cracked but still working.
Get dressed.
We're leaving in 10 minutes. But before they could move, his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. What? Dante Valerio. The voice was cold, authoritative. This is Vincent Caruso. I believe you know who I am. Dante's stomach dropped. Vincent Caruso, head of the city's Mafia council. The man who decided who lived and who got buried in the desert. I know. Then you know why I'm calling. Vincent's tone didn't invite debate. Emergency council meeting. 1 hour. You will attend.
I'm Busse.
You will attend, Vincent repeated, or you'll be declared rogue. All protection revoked. All territories seized. And the girl will be returned to police custody by our own hands. The line went dead. Mira was standing in the doorway now, changed into clothes Marco had brought the night before, jeans and a hoodie 3 sizes too big. What did they say? They want me to give you up. Dante grabbed his jacket. They think you're not worth the trouble. Maybe I'm not. He stopped, looking at her. You're worth more than all of them combined. The council meeting took place in a restaurant that didn't officially exist. No sign outside. No listed address. Just a steel door in an alley that led to a private room where decisions were made over espresso and blood. Dante left Mira in the car with Marco, engine running, ready to bolt if things went wrong. Inside, 5 men sat around a circular table. Vincent Caruso at the head, flanked by the other family bosses. Their faces ranged from hostile to coldly indifferent.
Seat, Vincent commended.
Dante remained standing. You've made a mess, Valerio. Vincent lit a cigar. The police are tearing through our operations. 3 clubs shut down. 2 warehouses raided. 17 arrests in 12 hours. He blew smoke toward the ceiling. All because you decided to play hero for a cop's daughter. She's not. I don't care what she is. Vincent's fist hit the table. You're bringing a war to our doorstep. The police have leverage now. They're threatening to prosecute every outstanding case unless we turn you over. Hale is dirty, Dante said. He killed my brother. He's killed others. That girl has proof. Proof. Another boss, Sal Marino, laughed bitterly. What good is proof if we're all in prison? You think the police will care that one of their own is corrupt? They'll bury it. They always do. Then we expose it publicly. The recordings will disappear the moment she's back in custody. Vincent stood, walking slowly around the table toward Dante. You're thinking with your heart, not your head. That girl is a liability. The smart play is to return her, apologize publicly, and weather the storm.
No.
The room went silent. Vincent stopped inches from Dante's face. That wasn't a suggestion. I don't care. Dante met his gaze without flinching.
Ale murdered Luca.
Framed him. Let him die. I finally have a chance to make it right, and you want me to throw it away to save some gambling dens? I want you to save the organization. The organization, Dante said quietly. Let my brother rot. Vincent's expression hardened. You have 24 hours to return the girl. After that, you're on your own. No soldiers. No protection. No family. He leaned closer. And if you try to run, we'll find you ourselves. Dante turned and walked out. Behind him, he heard Sal Marino say, He's going to get us all killed. Vincent's response was softer, but clear. Then we kill him first. The factory smelled like rust and forgotten dreams. Dante pulled the car through a gap in the chain-link fence, tires crunching over broken glass and weeds. The building loomed ahead, 3 stories of crumbling brick and shattered windows. He'd used it for smuggling operations years ago, before the ports became too hot. Nobody knew about this place. Not the council. Not the police. At least, that's what he thought. Stay close, Dante told Mira as they exited the car. She nodded, clutching her backpack like a shield. Marco followed, scanning the perimeter with his hand on his gun. Inside, the factory was a maze of abandoned machinery and empty crates. Pigeons scattered as they entered. Afternoon light filtered through holes in the roof, creating columns of dusty gold. Second floor, Dante said. There's a room with reinforced walls. We'll wait there until dark, then move for the library. They climbed the metal stairs carefully. Some steps were rusted through. Dangerous. Mira moved like a ghost, barely making a sound. The safe room was exactly as Dante remembered. Concrete walls. One small window with bars. A camping stove and some old blankets in the corner. Not comfortable, but defensible. Marco unpacked supplies, water, bread, a first aid kit. How long are we staying? Few hours. Just until. Glass shattered on the first floor. Dante's gun was out instantly. Marco moved to the window, peering down carefully. For vehicles. Maybe 15 men. Marco's voice was tight. They're surrounding the building. Police?
No uniforms.
But they move like cops. Dante's mind raced.
Impossible.
Nobody knew about this location. Unless. Traffic cameras, Mira whispered. She'd gone pale. Hale always said he could track anyone in the city through traffic cameras. He has friends in the transportation department. Of course. They'd driven straight here from the penthouse. Hale just had to follow the route. A voice echoed through the factory, amplified by a megaphone. Dante Valerio, we have the building surrounded. Send the girl out, and nobody gets hurt. Myra's breathing quickened. Her hands started shaking. We have a back exit, Marco said. The old loading tunnel. It leads to the street 2 blocks away. Show me. They moved fast, descending a different staircase toward the basement. Behind them, boots thundered through the factory entrance. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness. The tunnel entrance was hidden behind a false wall in the basement. Marco pulled away the boards, revealing a narrow passage that smelled of mold and stagnant water. Go! Dante pushed Mira forward. Don't stop until you see daylight. They crawled into the darkness. The tunnel was barely 4 feet high. Dante had to crouch, his back scraping the ceiling. Water dripped somewhere ahead. Something scurried past in the shadows. Behind them, voices shouted. They're not in the safe room. Check every floor. Mira was moving too slowly. Her breath came in short gasps. Keep going, Dante urged. I can't. She stopped suddenly, frozen in place. I can't. Mira. He locked me in a closet once. Her voice was strangled. For 2 days. No light. No food. Because I told Mom about the envelopes, she was hyperventilating now. I can't be in the dark again. I can't. Dante grabbed her shoulders gently. Look at me. Mira, look at me. Her wild eyes found his in the dimness. You're not in a closet. You're in a tunnel. There's an exit ahead. You can see light. Right there, he pointed forward, where a faint gray glow marked the end. 50 more feet. That's all. He'll find me. He always finds me. Not this time. Dante's voice was firm. Because I'm not going to let him. You understand? Whatever it takes, I'm keeping you safe. Myra's breathing slowed slightly. She nodded, tears streaming down her face.
Good.
Now move. They crawled faster. The gray light grew brighter. Dante could hear the ocean now. They were closer to the docks than he'd remembered. Behind them, an explosion of noise. Someone had found the tunnel entrance. There in the passage. Gunfire erupted. Bullets ricocheted off the concrete walls. Run!
Marcos shouted.
They burst out of the tunnel into an alley behind a fish processing plant. The smell of salt and rotting seafood hit them like a wall. Dante pulled Mira to her feet. A black SUV screeched around the corner, but it was one of Dante's. A young soldier named Tony at the wheel. Marco called ahead. Tony explained as they piled in. Figured you'd need an exit. More gunfire. The SUV's rear window shattered. Drive. Dante covered Mira with his body as Tony floored it. They weaved through the dock district, losing their pursuers in a maze of warehouses and shipping containers. When they finally stopped, miles away, in an abandoned parking garage, everyone was breathing hard. Mira was shaking, but she was alive. He knew, she said quietly. He knew where we'd go. Dante nodded grimly. Which means we can't hide anymore. He pulled out the small key she'd given him. We get that recording tonight. Before he figures out where it is. And then we make sure everyone hears it. Dante's expression hardened. Even if it kills us. Myra's old house looked like a bomb had hit it. They arrived just after midnight, parking 3 blocks away and approaching on foot.
The windows were shattered.
The front door hung off its hinges. Yellow police tape fluttered in the wind, but no officers were stationed outside. Hale didn't want witnesses to what he'd done. Stay behind me, Dante whispered. They slipped through the broken door. Inside was worse. Furniture overturned. Walls punched through. Every drawer emptied. Every cushion slashed. Hale had torn the place apart like a rabid animal. Mira stood in the ruins of her living room, her face unreadable. Family photos lay scattered on the floor, frames cracked, glass everywhere. She picked up one picture, her mother's smiling face before Hale entered their lives. Where's the key? Dante asked gently. Mira walked to the kitchen. The refrigerator was pulled away from the wall, its contents rotting on the floor. She knelt down and pried up a loose floorboard beneath where the fridge had stood. Inside the small hollow was a metal box. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a silver key attached to a library card and a folded piece of paper. Mira unfolded it, her mother's handwriting, shaky but clear. Mira, if you're reading this, I'm probably gone. Locker 237, Downtown Library, 3rd floor. The recording inside is the worst one. It proves everything. Give it to someone who can't be bought. Someone who has nothing left to lose. I love you, baby.
Be brave.
A tear splashed onto the paper. She knew, Mira whispered. She knew he'd kill her. Dante's jaw clenched.
Come on.
We need to move. They made it to the library just before 1 a.m. The downtown branch was a massive stone building, Gothic and imposing. It should have been closed, locked tight. But the side entrance door was propped open with a brick.
Dante s'installe crime de danger.
Wait here. No, Mira grabbed his sleeve. We go together. That was the deal. He wanted to argue, but her eyes were steel. This girl had been through hell and wasn't backing down now. They entered carefully. Emergency lights cast everything in a green glow. Their footsteps echoed on marble floors. The library felt cavernous at night, endless rows of books like a labyrinth. 3rd floor, Mira whispered, pointing to the stairs. They climbed in silence. Each creak of the old wood made Dante's trigger finger itch. Something was wrong. He could feel it. The 3rd floor was archives and storage. Rows of lockers lined one wall, personal storage for researchers and students. Locker 237 was near the back, tucked behind a pillar. Mira inserted the key with shaking hands. The locker clicked open. Inside was a single USB drive in a clear plastic case. Dante grabbed it, checking the contents on his phone. One audio file, Hale_final_CONFESSION MP3. Got it. Let's go. They turned to leave, and every speaker in the library crackled to life. Hello, Mira. Hale's voice, smooth and terrifying, echoed through the building. Mira froze, her face draining of color. I have to admit, I didn't think of the library. Your mother was always smarter. Then she looked to pause. But you made it easy, sweetheart. You left quite the digital trail. That library card swipe at the entrance? Flagged in the system 2 minutes ago. Dante pulled Mira toward the stairs, but heavy footsteps were already climbing up. Multiple sets. They were trapped. I can't let you leave with that recording, you understand. It's nothing personal. Hale's voice had lost all pretense of fatherly warmth. Well, maybe a little personal. You've been quite the inconvenience. Dante scanned the room. Windows too high and barred. The stairs blocked. But there was an emergency exit sign near the back, leading to the roof. This way, he pulled Mira toward it. They burst through the roof access door just as armed figures appeared at the top of the stairs. Not police uniforms. These were Hale's personal squad, the ones who did his dirty work. The roof was flat, surrounded by a low wall. City lights sprawled in every direction. And below, for floors down, patrol cars were pulling up, surrounding the building. "We're trapped," Mira said, her voice small. Dante looked at the USB drive in his hand. Everything they needed was on this tiny piece of plastic. Luca's justice. Myra's freedom. Proof of Hale's murders. Not yet. He pulled out his phone, quickly forwarding the audio file to 3 people. Marco, a journalist he'd once helped, and, on impulse, the FBI tip line. "What are you doing?" "Insurance." The file sent just as the roof access door burst open. Detective Hale stepped out, alone, a gun in his hand. He looked nothing like the crying father from the press conference. His face was cold, calculating. A predator who'd cornered his prey. "That was stupid, Dante." Hale aimed the gun at them. "Sending that file. You think anyone will believe it? I'll claim it's fabricated. Deep fake. Mafia lies." Maybe Dante stepped in front of Mira. Or maybe they'll investigate. Maybe just one person will listen. By then, you'll both be dead. Hale's smile was chilling. Tragic story. Mafia boss kidnaps child. Standoff on library roof. Both fall to their deaths during struggle. Mira stepped out from behind Dante, her voice stronger than he'd ever heard it. "You killed my mother." Hale's expression flickered. She was weak. "Couldn't understand what I was building." "You're a monster." "I'm a survivor." He raised the gun. "And you're a loose end." Dawn was breaking over the city, painting the sky in shades of orange and blood red. Mira stood between Dante and Hale, small but unshaking, her fists clenched at her sides. "Run, Mira," Dante said quietly. "Get behind me." "No," her voice was steady. "I'm done running from him." Hale laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. "That's my girl. Always had spirit. Shame you got your mother's stupidity too." Below, more vehicles arrived. SWAT vans. News trucks. A helicopter's distant thrum grew louder. The situation was spiraling beyond Hale's control, and Dante could see the desperation creeping into his eyes. "Put the gun down, Hale." Dante kept his voice calm. "It's over. The recording is already out there. Killing us just makes it worse for you. You think I care?" Hale's hand was steady, but sweat beaded on his forehead. "I've spent 15 years building my empire. 15 years of perfecting the system. I own judges. I own cops. I own the evidence rooms and the crime labs." He stepped closer. "One recording won't destroy me. But you two alive? You're witnesses. You're proof. You have to disappear." Myra's voice cut through like a knife. "Tell him about the others." Hale's gun wavered slightly. "Tell him about Officer Chen. And Detective Morris. And that prosecutor. What was her name?" Myra's eyes blazed. "Oh, right. Sarah Martinez. The one who was going to investigate you." "Shut up. Mom's recording isn't the only proof." Mira pulled something from her pocket. Not a weapon, but a small SD card. She made copies. Hid them everywhere. "This one has bank records. Photographs. Emails." She held it up. "Want to know where the others are?" It was a bluff. Dante could tell by the slight tremor in her voice. But Hale couldn't. "You're lying. Mom was smarter than both of us." Mira took a step toward him. "She knew you'd come for her eventually. So she made sure if anything happened, everything would come out. Automatic uploads. Scheduled emails. Dead man switches." Hale's face contorted with rage. "Your mother was a nosy bitch who couldn't mind her own business." "My mother was a hero." Tears streamed down Myra's face, but her voice never wavered. "And you murdered her because she was going to expose you." "I did what I had to do." Hale was shouting now, losing control. She was going to ruin everything. Years of work. She couldn't just leave it alone. "So you put her in the hospital." Myra's voice broke. "You beat her so badly she couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe without help. And then you came after me. The rooftop door burst open. But it wasn't more of Hale's men. It was two people in suits, a woman and a man, both wearing FBI badges. Detective Hale, the woman's voice was sharp and authoritative. Put the weapon down.
Now.
Hale spun, gun swinging wildly between Mira and the agents. This is my jurisdiction. You have no authority here. We have plenty of authority, the male agent stepped forward, his own weapon drawn. We've been investigating you for 8 months, detective. Financial crimes. Evidence tampering. We just needed the final piece, he glanced at Dante. Thank you for the audio file, Mr. Valerio. Very illuminating. Hale's face went white. You can't. That's fabricated evidence. Inadmissible. Maybe. But it gave us enough for a warrant, the female agent smiled coldly. We've been in your house for the past 2 hours. Found quite the collection. Burner phones, ledgers, and a very interesting safe deposit box key. You can't prove. We can prove everything, she pulled out handcuffs. Raymond Hale, you're under arrest for corruption, evidence tampering, conspiracy to commit murder, and about 15 other charges we're still counting. Hale looked around wildly, at the agents, at the growing crowd below, at the news helicopters now circling overhead. His empire was crumbling in real time, broadcast to the entire city. His eyes landed on Mira, and something ugly twisted in his expression. If I'm going down, you're coming with me. He lunged. Dante moved faster. He tackled Hale, both men crashing to the ground. The gun skittered across the roof. They grappled, Hale fighting with the desperate strength of a cornered animal. You kill my brother. Dante's fist connected with Hale's jaw. You framed him. Let him die in a cage. He was weak. Hale spat blood. Just like you. Just like that little brat. Dante's hand closed around Hale's throat, but Myra's voice stopped him. Don't, she was standing over them, holding Hale's dropped gun. Not pointing it, just holding it. He's not worth it. He's not worth you becoming like him. Dante looked up at her. This 10-year-old girl who'd survived hell. Who'd stayed brave when everything told her to break. He released Hale, standing slowly. The FBI agents swarmed in, cuffing Hale and hauling him to his feet. He screamed and thrashed, shouting Myra's name like a curse. But she didn't flinch. She stood tall, watching the monster who destroyed her family finally face justice. As they dragged him away, Hale's final words echoed across the roof. You haven't won. You'll never be free of me. But Mira smiled, small and sad and victorious. I already am. The hospital room was too white, too sterile, too quiet. Mira sat in a chair by the window, staring at nothing. A social worker hovered near the door, clipboard in hand, trying to be comforting and failing. They'd checked Mira for injuries, given her clean clothes, fed her soup she didn't eat. Now they were telling her about foster care, temporary placement, psychological evaluation, all the systems designed to help children who'd been through trauma. But Mira just wanted her mom. Dante watched from the hallway, his reflection ghostly in the glass partition. He wasn't allowed inside, not officially. The FBI had cleared him of kidnapping charges, but there were concerns about his influence. Social services wanted a clean separation. Marco stood beside him, arms crossed. They're placing her with a family across town. Experienced foster parents. Good track record. She doesn't know them. She doesn't know anyone. Her mom's still in ICU. Marco's voice was gentle. This is how it works, boss. The system takes over. Through the glass, the social worker was showing Mira pictures of the foster home. A nice house.
A dog.
Smiling people who looked like they'd stepped out of a catalog. Mira nodded politely at everything, her face blank. Dante's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, a news alert. Detective Hale's arrest sparks massive investigation. Police commissioner promises complete transparency. Another buzz. FBI raids police evidence rooms. Dozens of cases under review. And another.
Luca Valerio case opened.
Family demands exoneration. Justice. Finally. After 3 years. but it felt hollow watching Mira through that glass. 2 hours later, they let him say goodbye. The social worker gave them 5 minutes, standing just outside the door for propriety. Mira sat on the hospital bed, her legs dangling, too short to reach the floor. "They seem nice," Dante said, nodding toward the foster family photos. "The dog looks friendly." "Yeah," Myra's voice was small. "You'll be safe there. Protected." Hale's locked up. His whole network is collapsing. "I know." Silence stretched between them. Dante had faced down rival gangs, negotiated with killers, survived assassination attempts. But he had no idea how to talk to this little girl who'd changed everything. "Your brother," Mira said suddenly.
Luca.
"What was he like?" Dante sat in the chair across from her.
Annoying.
"Always borrowing my stuff without asking. Terrible at poker," he smiled despite himself. "But good. Really good. He wanted to go legitimate, open a restaurant. Used to cook these elaborate meals and make me taste test everything." "Did he know about your business?"
Yeah.
"He hated it. We fought about it constantly." Dante's throat tightened. "Last thing I said to him before his arrest was that he was naive, that the world doesn't reward good people. But you tried to save him." "Not hard enough." The words came out rougher than intended. "I thought I could fix it after. Get him a good lawyer, bribe the right people. But Hale's frame-up was too perfect. And Luca," he stopped, collecting himself. "Luca didn't survive long enough for me to make it right." Mira was quiet for a moment. Then, "He'd be proud of you. For helping me." "I didn't do it for pride. I did it because," Dante paused, "because you deserved someone to fight for you. The way I should have fought for him. You're still fighting for him. They're reopening his case. Clearing his name. Because of you." Dante leaned forward. "Because you were brave enough to run. To trust a stranger in a bar. To keep going even when you were terrified." Tears welled in Myra's eyes. "I don't feel brave." "That's because real bravery isn't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing it anyway." He reached out, hesitating, then gently squeezed her hand. "You're the bravest person I've ever met." The tears spilled over. "Will you visit me?" "At the foster home?" Dante's chest constricted. He wanted to say yes. Wanted to promise he'd be there every week. But the social worker had been clear. Clean separation meant minimal contact. The system didn't trust Mafia bosses around vulnerable children, no matter what they'd done. "I don't know if they'll let me. But you'll try." He looked into her eyes, those two old eyes that had seen too much. "I'll try. Promise." "Promise." The social worker knocked on the door. "Time's up, Mr. Valerio." Mira slid off the bed and hugged him suddenly, fiercely. Her small arms wrapped around his waist, holding tight. Dante stood frozen for a heartbeat, then carefully hugged her back. "You're the only one who listened," she whispered into his jacket. "When I said he was dangerous. When I said I needed help. Everyone else thought I was just a scared kid. But you listened." "I'll always listen," Dante said quietly. "You need me, you call. Doesn't matter when or where. I'll come." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Thank you. For everything." As he walked away, Dante heard her whisper one more thing. "You're not a monster. Not like him." He hoped she was right. 3 weeks later, Dante drove along a coastal road he'd never traveled before. The city was behind him now, its violence, its corruption, its endless cycle of revenge. The ocean stretched to his left, gray-green and churning. Small fishing boats dotted the horizon. The air smelled of salt and freedom. The GPS led him to a small town that looked like it belonged in a postcard. White houses with blue shutters. A main street with a bakery, a bookstore, and a coffee shop. Children rode bicycles. Old men played chess in the park. Nobody here knew who Dante Valerio was. Nobody cared about mafia wars or dirty cops or 3-year-old vendettas. It was perfect. The house was at the end of a quiet street, backing onto a hill covered in wildflowers. Yellow paint, a porch swing, and a garden that needed weeding. Dante had bought it through 3 shell companies, paid in cash, and arranged for a family to live there, the Castellis, distant relatives of Marco, who'd wanted to leave the city anyway. They had no criminal record, no connections to his business, just good people who'd agreed to take in a girl who needed a fresh start. Dante parked and sat in the car for a moment, suddenly nervous. What if Mira didn't want to see him? What if she'd moved on? 3 weeks was a lifetime for a traumatized child. The front door opened. Maria Castelli stepped out, a kind-faced woman in her 50s with flour on her apron. She waved him forward. Mr. Valerio. She's been watching the window all morning. He barely made it up the path before Mira burst through the door. She looked different. Her hair was washed and braided. She wore clean clothes that actually fit. The bruises had faded. But it was her eyes that changed the most. They were still serious, still older than they should be, but there was something new there.
Hope.
She crashed into him, hugging him with the force of a hurricane. You came, she said into his chest. You actually came. I promised, didn't I? She pulled back, grinning through tears. The social worker said you probably wouldn't, that it was too complicated, that you had legal restrictions. Yeah, well, Dante shrugged. I've never been great at following rules. Maria Castelli smiled knowingly. I'll make coffee. You two have catching up to do. They walked through the garden, Mira chattering about her new school, the kids in her class, the cat that kept visiting the porch. She was still nervous, her hands fidgeted constantly, but she was trying, building a new life one small piece at a time. My mom woke up, Mira said suddenly, her voice soft. 2 days ago. They called from the hospital. Dante stopped walking. That's incredible. She can't talk much yet, but she squeezed my hand. The doctors say she'll recover. Slowly, but Myra's eyes shimmered. She'll recover. I'm glad, and he meant it. Despite everything, this woman had been brave enough to document Hale's crimes, to risk everything to protect her daughter. They're going to let her move here. When she's better, Mira looked up at him. We can be together again. Really together. No more Hale. No more hiding. That's all you ever wanted, isn't it? Just a normal life. Yeah, she bent down, plucking a wildflower. Is that stupid? After everything?
No.
It's the smartest thing I've heard in years. They sat on a bench overlooking the ocean. Gulls cried overhead. Somewhere a dog barked. It was so far removed from Dante's world of violence and shadows that it felt almost unreal. What about you? Mira asked. What happens now? Dante was quiet for a long moment. I'm dismantling it. The businesses. The operations. Everything Luca hated about what I became. Really? Really? Hale's arrest opened up investigations into everyone connected to him. Half my contacts are either arrested or in hiding. The council is in chaos. And I realized he paused, choosing his words carefully. I realized I spent 3 years becoming exactly what Luca didn't want me to be. I thought I was honoring his memory, but I was destroying it. So you're just stopping? Just like that.
Not just like that. It'll take time.
Lots of it. But yeah, he looked at her. You showed me there's a different kind of strength. The kind that chooses to do right even when it's terrifying. Even when it costs everything. Myra's hand found his. You're going to be okay. It wasn't a question.
It was a statement.
A promise from a 10-year-old girl who'd survived hell and chose to believe in better things. Yeah, Dante said. I think I am. As the sun began to set, painting the ocean in shades of gold and crimson, Dante stood to leave. Mira walked him to his car, reluctant to let him go. You'll come back? She asked. Every month. If you'll have me. Always. He opened the car door, then stopped. From his pocket, he pulled out a small object and pressed it into her palm. The voice recorder. The one that had started everything. This belongs to you, he said. Your mother's courage. Your bravery.
Keep it.
Remember that even in the darkest places, someone always hears the truth eventually. Mira clutched it to her chest, tears streaming freely now. As Dante drove away, he watched her in the rearview mirror, standing in the garden waving, the sunset behind her making her look like she was glowing. A girl who'd lost everything and somehow found the strength to build something new. He'd spent 3 years hunting ghosts. But maybe, just maybe, he'd finally found redemption. The road stretched ahead, winding toward an uncertain future. For the first time in years, Dante wasn't afraid of it. Behind him, Mira watched until his car disappeared around the bend. She looked down at the voice recorder in her hands, the tiny device that had changed everything. Then she smiled, turned, and walked back toward the yellow house where dinner was waiting and her new life was just beginning. She was finally safe. Finally home. Finally free.
The end.